Hi guys, so today I'll be discussing our 17th president, Andrew Johnson. So, Johnson was born in 1808 and died in 1875 at the age of 73. He was the 17th president of the United States from 1865 to 1869. He was succeeded by Ulysses S. Grant and belonged to the Democratic Party formerly, then with Lincoln for the election of 1864. He changed to be a Republican, or also known as the National Union Party. He was previously the vice president for the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, and then later became the president after Lincoln's assassination. He was also impeached in February of 1868 as he violated the Tenure of Office Act. So he was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, to nearly illiterate parents, and grew up in poverty. Johnson himself wasn't the most literate, which is also similar to President Lincoln, as both of them weren't the most literate, but Lincoln turned out to be more successful with the Emancipation Proclamation and Reconstruction and his 10% plan and all that. Whereas Johnson didn't get that end of the stick. So as he grew up in poverty, he became a tailor at an early age, which eventually led him and his brother to open a successful tailor shop. Where later on he met his wife, and his wife helped him get the basic essentials of reading, grammar, and math, and that was at the age of 17. He was a member of the House of Representatives and Senate in the 1840s and 1850s. Prior to his presidency, he was elected governor of Tennessee in 1853. Johnson considered himself a Jacksonian Democrat, as he opposed non-essential government spending and was a promoter of states' rights and strong anti-abolitionist sentiments. He later, as I mentioned earlier, during the election of 1864 became a Republican, or also the National Union. But even with that, as he grew up in poverty, he wasn't at there were higher class individuals who led him to develop a white supremacist standpoint. So because of that, he had this very negative outlook to African Americans and colored people. So he didn't accomplish much during his presidency, but here's one accomplishment. So Johnson had advocated the Homestead Act, which persuaded Western migration by providing migrants 100+ acres of land. In turn, the settlers had to live on that land for 5 years prior to receiving that land. So it's basically a way of getting people to live and travel across into territory and own land and occupy it, rather than having it bare and not occupied and just not resourceful. So that was one good thing, but you have to live on that land for 5 years before getting that 100+ acres of land, which was kind of not. I guess some people would think it wasn't that worth it, but you have to do it. Okay, so during post-presidential accomplishments after presidency, so Johnson was impeached in 1868, I believe, but he returned to the Senate in 1875 and became the only U.S. president to serve in the Senate. So this was really bold for him, really after impeachment, who really comes back to politics and showing their face. But Johnson does, because Johnson, he has this personality where he's like, he thinks he's correct, and what he did in the past and what he like had, his perspectives were like his white supremacist outlook, or it didn't really affect him, or like he didn't think that was a problem. He just thinks he was a good president, and it was like wrong time, wrong place type of situation. But yeah, it was very bold of him to come back to politics. Okay, as for domestic policies, he implemented black codes in the South, so it really had limited freedom for African Americans, which was very unfair, and it essentially maintained slavery under like another name. Okay, and then he passed, during the Congress recess, he passed whatever legislation he wanted. So like anything he wanted, it was his time to shine and get whatever he wanted to get done in his way without anyone stopping him. And this really, like, it was not a good period. It really kind of set back what Lincoln kind of set up. He also didn't support the Emancipation Proclamation at first. However, he later supported it as it was necessary to end the war. So it was to him, it was like he used it to as like a war tactic, a means to punish the Confederates and rob them of resources and to end the war. So basically, it was just to end the war, but he didn't really consider like, oh, it's actually like helping African Americans and their population, you know. And he also sought to disenfranchise the African Americans. So this was so this really limited their rights to vote. So it set them back. So like, they just got their freedom. However, Johnson like really tried to like halt their comings and their presence in society, sort of. So he tried to disenfranchise them. As for foreign policies, these weren't the most direct regarding to the Americas. However, there was this bumpy U.S. relation with Great Britain that was repaired as Johnson handled a crisis by enforcing neutrality laws against the Irish Americans who had made several armed attacks in Canada in an attempt to annex Canadian territory. So I guess that's one of the good things he did. Also, at the end of the Civil War, Mexico was involved in the war. French army had occupied key parts of Mexico in 1861. So this was, although Mexico wasn't really much with the Americas, but it was America was affected as Mexico was the next territory. It was a neighboring territory of America. Also, he was a part of the Alaska Purchase in 1867. So the picture down below, the orange shaded region, is where the purchase was made. Yes. Okay, so this went pretty wrong, but I guess you can categorize these as accomplishments, but in like domestic policies, however, it's not really Johnson's accomplishments. Some are, however, not bad accomplishments, as for example the KKK. So it was a white supremacist group that really sought to kind of like restrict African Americans' freedom and their presence in society. So like there were lynchings and various ways to like stop them from integrating into their society and being involved, which was very negative, and it was a very violent and tumultuous situation. So also during this time there was a populist Grange movement. So the populist party really sought to have free coinage of silver, government ownership of the railroads, graduate income tax, direct election of the offenders, and then the party eventually, it really had urged for improvement in farmer situations. However, they really wanted the farmers to be noticed, whereas they've been neglected throughout history, or yeah. And then there was also the Lincoln-Johnson Reconstruction era, and then the boss Tweed. It was a firm Democrat that utilized cronyism, which is the appointment of people without any specialization or qualifications, cronyism of political machines that led to corruption. So during this time period, there was also a lot of corruption, which also added on to Johnson's presidency and really affected his presidency in being more negative and having a very bad turnout, Also, Congress during this time period was the most impactful, as they enacted the 14th Amendment, which ensured citizenship to all, and the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which established African Americans as citizens and forbade discrimination against them. So this really changed this traditional notion we had before, African Americans as slaves, and now they're just getting a place in society, and they're getting more rights and freedom to better their lives. Also, to help better their lives, Congress enacted the Freedmen's Bureau, which aided freed African Americans to help their freed lives, adjust to society, and as their former slaves, they didn't really have all the opportunities to make their lives and their family live happily, I guess. And then Johnson wasn't the most supportive of this because, as you know, he was kind of a racist, and he didn't really sought to have African Americans with rights. And then lastly, Congress enacted the Tenure of Office Act. So this act impeached Johnson. So it was an act to limit the power of the president. So this really, that should be a duh, but limit the power of the president. And because during this time, Johnson was very abusive of his presidential role, and he didn't follow what the president should do. He made various vetoes, and he didn't side with what Congress said oftentimes. So the Tenure of Office Act got him impeached, and it really set things straight for presidents to come, to have certain guidelines they should follow and not cross over their boundaries. And that's it. That's my We're Excited, and thank you for watching. Here's another meme for Miss Kimmick, because she loves memes. So this one says, goes to a play, but hands off Reconstruction to worst president ever, Andrew Johnson. I mean, it's very fitting. Alright, thank you guys. Have a nice day.